Shangri-La Frontier, or SLF for short, is the video game anime that we expected out of Sword Art Online. My first comparison of the show would be akin to Log Horizon, as I think these two shows are vastly similar. This is to be expected as they are in the same genre, but I believe Shangri-La Frontier takes a lot of inspiration from Log Horizon. As a result, the finished product of SLF is a very polished one that has me glued to the edge of my seat. As a fellow gamer, I can easily say that this is my favorite depiction of what it means to be one. There are those that peruse the aisles of GameStop and the libraries of Steam for your typical mainstream video games. And then there are those of us who play trashy, buggy messes like Dungeons of Sundaria as a Christmas gift to your entire friend group. Recently, I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter Rise, and what SLF does by labeling the dungeons is a very typical thing, but something more in line with the Monster Hunter franchise. As such, there are typically smaller monsters to fight, but then a few larger monsters that serve as boss fights. There's also the concept of unique monsters that require certain conditions to be unlocked or encountered. More on this later. The basic premise of SLF is that our main character, Rakurou Hizutome, otherwise known as Sunraku, is an avid gamer. He is someone who loves playing poorly made games because he wants to be able to beat them despite their bugs or balancing issues. It would be one thing to show Rakurou strictly playing SLF, but they could also go into heavy detail of his game history. And we get to see him playing other games such as Fairy Chronicle Online, Berserk Online Passion, and United Rounds. Each of these ones talks about a different kind of game, with Fairy Chronicle Online being in line with your more typical JRPG fantasy game. Berserk Online Passion is a fighting game in line with those such as Tekken and Mortal Kombat, and United Rounds is a medieval fighting game, similar to that of For Honor or Chivalry. It would be one thing just to phone it in and have our characters locked in the video game like Sword Art Online, but it's another to have them have freedom and play whatever they want, when they want. It shows how many options there are in this world and how VR gaming has become the flagship console, something that will probably happen in the next 10 to 20 years. Back to Rakurou though. He's someone who's committed to his gaming passion, and he's surrounded by the same kinds of friends you would meet online. Firstly, there's Kei Umi, otherwise known as Oikatzo. Their character is one that is built on tanking hits, so they would be your typical fighter build with high vitality and defense. Oikatzo is someone who's a pro gamer and would be easily compared to a streamer gamer. He excels in player versus player combat, otherwise known as PvP. He is both incredibly stupid, but hilarious. Before meeting Rakurou, Oikatzo was your typical gamer, but now he has a passion for trash games as well. Did I mention that he plays as a woman in SLF? I wonder what kind of degen would also play as a female character in games. Okay, you caught me, I play as women all the time in video games, but that's beside the point. The second character is Towa Amane, also known as Arthur Pencilgon, who's a famous model in real life. She is confident and someone who focuses strictly on killing stronger and higher level opponents, gaining notoriety for being in the Ashurakai, a guild focused on player killing in SLF. Pencilgon wants nothing more to beat Wezamon, the Tomb Guard, which is a unique monster in one of the 7 Colossi. As I said before, there are unique monsters that have certain conditions that you need to meet before encountering them. For Wezamon, it must be a full moon in a specific area to trigger the fight. Just like in any other game, the second someone starts the fight, the location is blocked off for other players. The attention to detail is what I adore in this anime, as it really does show how carefully thought out this anime and manga has been. This is quite literally a gamer's paradise, as they do have stuff that only gamers are gonna really understand. Like Rakurou having a stay out sign out of his room, and also drinking a shit ton of energy drinks. Our main character, Rakurou, is a dual-wielding character with an agility build. Instead of making a build to withstand hits, they focus on not getting hit at all. It's definitely a meme build, and he wears a giant bird head as a fucking costume. Rakurou is given a unique scenario right at the beginning of his playthrough of SLF. He's probably only 10 or 20 hours into his gameplay before he encounters Lycagon, the Night Slayer, a unique monster that pretty much no one has encountered before. This ensues in a battle where Rakurou is full of confidence against an opponent that was way out of his league at the time. But it also ignites a passion that was already growing there for SLF. He's someone who doesn't typically play god tier games, and we see how his abilities in trash games have very clearly translated into this god tier game. Even still, he's nearly taken out by a one-shot move, but his luck saves him for a second. On 1 HP, he vows to defeat Lycagon, and this is his primary objective for the entire show. It's like that one Dark Souls boss that you couldn't possibly beat, and now you're just going, fuck you, I'm gonna dedicate my entire life to kicking your ass. With that, we watch as Rakurou is marked by a curse that depletes him of all his stats and nerfs him. He cannot wear armor over the marks, so he also takes a vitality and defensive nerf. Also, he's forced to be naked throughout the entire rest of the show now. Everything but the bird head. This makes it nearly impossible for any other player to level up, but Rakurou does not let it sway him. He instead weaponizes his nerf and starts to grind his way to the top. After Rakurou is marked, he's introduced to Emul, who's a Vorpal rabbit from Rabituza. Rabituza is a unique area that only Rakurou can enter thanks to opening up the unique scenario condition from his battle with Lycagon. As a result, he goes to Rabituza and has Emul as a kind of familiar. This is a clear homage to the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, and when she's in her human form, she looks like a cross between a dark magician girl and the rabbit. In Rabituza, Rakurou is introduced to Vysache, who's the father of Emul, as well as the boss of Rabituza. He's portrayed as a Yakuza boss, smoking out of a pipe with majestic robes around him. Vysache is the key to Rakurou's growth in the game, as he needs to go through a training arc that is taken within Rabituza. He now has 10 trials that he must endure and go through in order to scale throughout it. This is the game's way of making up for the debuffs that we were given through Lycagon's marks. We watch as Rakurou goes from a 0 to absolute hero before ultimately getting recruited by Pencilgon. Speaking of Pencilgon, before Rakurou can go through the unique training scenario, he's seen with Emul in the regular player base. As a result, 2 players take a photo of him and Emul and they post it on the forums asking if anyone knows where to find a rabbit familiar like her. This is how we first see Pencilgon, as she's a part of the aforementioned Ashura Kai, a player-killing guild focused on PvP. As Rakurou tries to progress into the next city, he's intercepted by the Ashura Kai and Pencilgon, and he's only able to pass with the help of 2 other players, Saiger Zero and Animalia. Animalia protects Emul as she's a beast tamer player who has followed Rakurou to find out how to get a vocal rabbit, whereas Saiger Zero is a classmate of Rakurou's who's deeply infatuated with him. I know I got a lot of flack for my definition of a yandere in the 100 Girlfriends video, but the player for Saiger Zero, otherwise known as Rei Saga, is 100% one. Her mood vastly sways on the reactions and actions of Rakurou as she desperately wants to talk and play SLF with him. She takes out her anger on other players as she doesn't get the opportunity to talk more with him. And in general, she's just deeply obsessed with him. She's more of a comedic and romantic love interest, and it's nice to see something more lighthearted on this side of the show. The romance does not take over the show though, like it did with Sword Art Online with Kirito and Asuna, something I could not stand at the time.
What do you mean by that?
Even Log Horizon has its problems with the romance. Shangri-La Frontier actually balances it very healthily though, even though we haven't seen Rakurou acknowledge or come to the conclusion that Saiger Zero is actually someone he already knows in real life. We haven't seen the conclusion of this romantic interest, and I want to see it very desperately now. Also to this end, Rei is quite literally stalking him in the game, trying to interact with him in any manner. She also is racked by anxiety as she tries to send a message to him over the game's message system, only to immediately send it and then have to send another message right after saying that she has to cancel. All of the world building and characterization is really solid in Shangri-La Frontier, and if you're a gamer who wants to see a show that properly depicts how we are, this is definitely one for you. Rakurou is a lighthearted and comedic character, but he turns it up to 100 when he needs to focus. That being said, the fight scenes in SLF are beautiful, as the framework is stunning. This anime either has an insane budget, or C2C Studios is exceptional in working with what they have. The textures and lighting are also great, and I know I'm not usually someone who tells people to watch a certain anime just for the visuals, but these ones are good enough to warrant that. This has to be my favorite show within the video game isekai genre as of late, and I know that's a very specific subgenre, but there are just so many to choose from that they all start to blend together. With all the parody that's going around, it just seems really nice to have a lighthearted show that does something right with video games. There's another show I would like to talk about, which is The King's Avatar, otherwise known as Quanji Gao Shou, which is a Chinese anime that's set within real life and the video game as well. But I want to know that there's some interest for that video, so if you're interested in seeing that, please let me know in the comments below, and if not, tell me what you would be interested in me reviewing. Thank you all for watching, and for the insane love on the Goblin Slayer and 100 Girlfriends video. Thank you for 300 subscribers, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all next time. See ya!